Are you a first-time home buyer or just looking for a little information on when not to buy a home? I have helped, a lot of people buy property over the last 14 or 15 years. I've bought several of them on my own. During that time, I've seen a lot of homes that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Complete disasters. Yes, there are homes that you, especially as a first-time home buyer, should avoid. Flat out avoid. There is no reason to go save up all this money, go through the process of buying a home, just to find out that you have to put about another $20,000 or $30,000 into it. Let's face it, most, not all, but a lot of first-time home buyers are struggling to get that first home. Between the down payment, the expenses of getting the thing done, like inspections and appraisals and fees, and everything else involved with buying a home, things can be, a little tight. Finding out 6-8 months later that you need to come up with another chunk of money is probably going to lead to a little bit of regret. I am going to go over the types of homes that I would avoid like the plague. Properties I wouldn't consider buying myself, let alone helping somebody else buy it. So please use my experience. Hopefully it will save you a lot of money and a lot of headaches just by avoiding these types of homes. Before we get too far down that rabbit hole, if you get anything out of my videos, please like it and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. There's an old, very old saying in the real estate world. Real estate is all about location, location, location. That's where I want to start. I was out showing homes to a couple last week. They want to move over to the Lakeland area. We looked at, 6, maybe 7 different homes. The one they really liked was a little 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home on a very nice corner lot. Remember here, we are in Florida, lots of oranges. So as we're standing out in the front yard looking at the house, off in the distance about 200, 250 yards, I see this huge citrus processing plant. Do you know what that's going to smell like in the summer when they're out there processing all those oranges? It's not going to be pleasant. They loved it. It was a cute home. And maybe, they'd be happy there. But at some point in time, they are probably going to want to sell it. That means the new buyers are going to have to love it as much as they do. Not everybody is going to appreciate being that close to a citrus processing plant. The list of potential buyers is going to get necked down to a very few possibilities. Another place to be careful of is close to a major highway. It doesn't have to be a major highway. There are several surface roads that are 2 or 4 lanes where homes back up to them. I always warn my clients about getting too close to a road, a railroad track, or even an airport flight path. I would not be excited about sitting out in my backyard listening to the buzz of I-75 all day and night. There are more important issues there again. Resale. You may not be ready to sell anytime soon, but someday you probably will. Like I mentioned earlier, potential buyers may not want to put up with that noise level. I tell my buyers all the time that they should visit the home in the evening, listen to the traffic, see how many jets fly by. Builders are buying whatever land they can get their hands on. And they all have roads. Some are bigger than others. There are roads you should avoid. There are roads that you cannot avoid. Those you're just going to have to hope don't get any bigger. If you can, look for homes on conservation lots. Lots where the backyard is a protected area, a retention pond, even a small lake. The problem with those are going to be the cost. Homes that have another home backing up to it are normally less expensive, sometimes a lot less expensive. Your budget just may not be able to handle that additional price. Some other definite homes to avoid would be those that are sinkhole homes. As a first-time home buyer, I would not even consider buying a home that has had any indications of a sinkhole activity. Almost all of Florida is susceptible to sinkhole activity. There are some areas more prone to having issues than others. Your realtor should know those areas in general. They are not seismic engineers, but they should be able to lead you in the right direction. The seller is required by law to disclose any known issues with the house that would include sinkholes on the seller's property disclosure. Most sellers would be glad to give you that document. If a seller won't, you're going to have to ask yourself, why not? There are a couple of legitimate reasons. Flippers are one. They just bought the house, fixed it up, and now they're selling it. They probably bought the house as a foreclosure and did not get that disclosure from the bank or the lender. They are not going to have any idea what has happened to that house. Normally, a house that has had a sinkhole professionally remediated is going to be fine. But there are a lot of homes on the market now. Taking on an issue like that could prove to be expensive. Which is a great segue into the next homes that I would steer clear of. Almost always, anyhow. That's going to be flipped homes. Several years ago, HGTV came out with a program where they had people going out and buying houses, old crappy houses for cheap, putting a little bit of money into them, bringing back in the market and selling them, making millions of dollars on these houses. And, there are a lot of flippers who remodel the home correctly. On the other hand, there are a lot of them who don't know what they're doing, and they don't really care. The vast majority of the latter group are new to flipping. Most of them have just started their flipping career. They are late to the market, bought the house for too much money, and now, to make any profit on it, they have to cut corners. You do not want to buy those cut corners. The problem is that it's not very easy to determine the good flippers from the others. Flippers buy homes that need work. They are normally distressed homes that need a lot of work. Some of the improvements are cosmetic, paint, new carpet, that kind of thing. The issue you run into is when putting lipstick on that pig is just not going to be enough. The vast majority of these flippers aren't contractors. I'd be willing to bet 99% of them aren't. Most of these, they like to be called investors, are just people trying to make a quick buck. Until they bought their first project, they probably never picked up a hammer before. So when I'm working with a buyer, one of the first things I want to check is how long that current owner has owned the property. Is the owner a corporation or some other type of business entity? If it was on the MLS before, your realtor can get pictures of that previous listing. Find out if it was a flipped home. When you're walking through the house, there are quite often obvious signs: gaps in countertops and kitchen cabinets, unfinished trim. I had one investor who remodeled the entire kitchen, completely ripped it out. Everything was new. New cabinets, new countertops, new appliances, and it looked great. When we did the inspection, we found that the new refrigerator with its ice maker and water dispenser worked fine. It cooled, except that they failed to run a line for the water supply to get to the refrigerator. It stopped about 6 feet short at the kitchen sink. That told me that there was no inspection done, no permits were pulled for the new plumbing. We also found electrical outlets that were not properly wired. I mean, you could tell when you started looking at it closely, the remodel, wasn't done right. A lot of the corner cutting goes on behind the walls. Places that you can't see during the inspections, but you know darn well it's going to pop up after you move in. It's easy to see which homes are flipped. I'd really be leery of buying ones where the investor didn't pull permits for the major stuff, the mechanical changes, the new roof, the walls that had to be removed because they're trying to get the open house or the wide open feeling, the new HVAC system. You really need to have somebody inspect those major upgrades just to make sure they were done correctly. Putting a new roof on because the flipper didn't do it correctly is not going to be cheap. If you're thinking about buying a flipped home, just be sure to do your due diligence. Check for permits. They're online. Your agent should be able to get them. Ask for the names of the contractors and verify if they're licensed. If they aren't, do you really want to take a chance on that? Another home I'd be concerned about are homes with structural issues. I talked earlier about sinkholes. Sinkholes happen pretty much all over the country. They happen a lot more here in Florida. Florida has a lot of limestone under the surface. That limestone can crack and cause a sinkhole. They occur most often in certain parts of the state, primarily along the West Coast. I am not an expert, so I don't know why they occur. I just know that they can. So when I walk up to a home that my buyers are interested in buying, One of the things I've started looking for are cracks. There are normal cracks that occur because the house has settled. All homes have settlement cracks. There are normally straight lines in the stucco. They tend to follow the joints between the cement blocks on the exterior of the house. The cracks you want to pay attention to are those in the tile floors in the house, in the driveways, in the garage. Those are normally very random and travel just all over the place. They could be very well settling, and most of them are, but those types of cracks deserve closer inspection. A couple of years ago, buyers were waiving contingencies clauses just to be competitive with other buyers. The right to inspect was one of the most often waived. Times have changed. Do not give up that right. You need to have the home inspection done. Even on new construction homes, have the inspection done. There are a ton of things that you or I don't see when we're walking through the property. A professional home inspector will look at the plumbing. They're going to take a cover off of the electrical panel to make sure it's up to code. While he's in there, he's going to be checking for things like double tamping on the circuit breakers, aluminum wiring, which is a definite hard walk away from me. You're not going to want to rewire that whole house. A home that's been added onto can also be a problem. I've been in several homes where an additional room has been added. Most common are patio or garage conversions. They're very obvious. The 5-foot wide walkway into the room has a step down. The wall between the rooms is 10 inches thick. That happens to be the exact width of an 8-inch cement block plus the finished wall of what was previously the exterior wall. There may or may not be an air conditioning vent in the room. That whole addition needed to be permitted. The question is, was it? It gets back to the issue we talked about earlier. Was it done by a professional or was it done by the homeowner? Some homeowners are completely capable of remodeling, but as a buyer, I want to know if an inspection was done on the electrical work and the plumbing on that brand new wet bar, or how about the plumbing in the bathroom? You'd be surprised how many times I've walked into a home and the ceiling has an obvious bow. A sagging ceiling is an issue. It will not do nothing but get worse as time goes along. The inspector can find indications of things like mold. If you've owned a home in Florida and let that home sit without the air conditioning going, you know how fast mold grows. Anytime the inspection shows the possibility of mold, you need to get a mold inspection done. Mold can be very difficult to get rid of, and you don't want to buy into that issue. Popcorn ceilings were very common in the 1960s and 70s. Popcorn ceilings were a common place to use asbestos to keep the popcorn effect. It was also used in the siding on the outside of some homes. Removing asbestos is time-consuming and expensive, not to mention very hazardous. If you walk into a home built in that time period and the ceilings are really nice knocked down, you should ask questions. Were those ceilings recently done? And was any asbestos found? Either way, yes or no, an asbestos disclosure should be completed and signed by the seller. Lead paint was used on interior trim in homes until it was banned for sale in 1979. It was still used up until the mid-80s. Homes in Florida that were built prior to 79 are supposed to have a lead paint disclosure signed by the seller, letting you know if anything he knows of anything. It's okay to waive a contingency for specific reasons, none of which I can think of at the moment. Do not waive the home inspection. You won't know what the previous owner did, or more importantly, did not do. Several years ago, I was helping a couple buy a home down on Old Tampa Bay. They fell in love with the house. It had a beautiful view out over the bay, came with a dock and a lift that he loved. Even had a floating dock for a jet ski, which proved to be a problem. That's a whole different story. We made the offer, scheduled the inspection. The day of the inspection, we're over there walking around, checking out the house. She was planning where the furniture was going to go. He was trying to figure out how quick he'd get a boat on the dock. The inspector got done with his deal and wanted to go over some of the stuff that he had found. Cool. Couldn't be that bad. I mean, the house was beautiful. Or not. Apparently, the current owner had several buckets in the attic over the garage. Those buckets were strategically placed to catch rainwater that was coming through the roof. Was not a deal killer, but we did wind up negotiating a new roof into the deal. My point is, you don't know what you don't know. I touched on plumbing earlier. In the 70s, a lot of builders used up cardboard type material for the sewer connection from the house out to the street. It had a very limited life expectancy. I know that for a fact. I had to replace that pipe a couple of years after moving into our first home here in Tampa. Those older homes also used copper pipes for plumbing. Copper also has a limited lifetime. It will leak. Polybutylene, or Poly B, was used for a while in the late 70s. It was supposed to be a cheap alternative to copper, and it was great until it wasn't. Apparently, nobody knew that it would decompose when it came into contact with chlorine. Chlorine is found in most drinking water. That same water is in most homes. You can't even get insurance on a home that has Poly B pipes. Replumbing an entire home, guaranteed, is not going to be cheap. When you get your inspection report back, it's going to have a list of major items that need to be repaired or remediated. Let me rephrase that. The inspection is going to have a list of things that need to be readdressed. Not all those items need to be addressed now. A good number are going to be basic maintenance issues, bushes that need to be trimmed, or cracked outlet covers, or chipped paint on a door. That's what you hired that inspector to do. Find issues that the home might have before you buy it. The issues you need to focus on are mechanical, electrical, and safety issues. Chipped paint is just part of the home. But if that list comes back with a lot of major expensive items, you're going to have to ask yourself, how did that seller maintain the home while he was living there? And are there issues beyond what was found? Remember, the inspector you hire, it's a basic home inspector, mold inspector, plumbing, whomever, can go through the house, but they can't cut into the walls or destroy the home. If I get back a long list of expensive repairs, do I really want to buy it? Hopefully, I haven't scared you away from buying your first home. That's not my intention. If you work with an experienced realtor, they can guide you through the process. Point out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you're looking for a home here in the Tampa Bay area and have questions, give me a call. I'm happy to answer them. I can also help you with purchasing that home. If you're looking for an experienced real estate agent, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.